Italian operator gadget leaks. Hey, what's up guys, IrishTale here, and in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the Year 3 Season 2 Italian gadget leaks. So essentially, the other day, we had a Reddit post by Artex3, who is a very well-known guy for data mining the Siege files and giving us fairly consistent and correct information with regards to Siege and upcoming content. And basically, he did some data mining of the files, and he found that there were several different strings of code, essentially, that basically strings that were found in the client that sort of give information to new behaviors that are being added into Siege with regards to new objects and new items. So essentially, one of the things he found, again, I'll show a picture of this on screen for you guys, and as always, there's a link to the Reddit in the description below. But on this thread, it says things like hologram state initial, hologram state scanning, hologram state visible. You get the point, you can obviously see them on screen. But essentially, the thing here that the community has taken back is that there's some sort of new hologram thing in Siege, and it's going to be some sort of new item. There's also here that it says melee hit special effect type hologram, so again it kind of implies that maybe if a player hits the hologram, there's some sort of special effect that happens. Again, there's also other things as you go on. Decoy identity icon kind default, decoy identity icon alternative A. So here there's a sort of suggestion that maybe the hologram or decoy or whatever it is identifies whoever it is that triggers it, and it marks where they are, and it, it gives the identity icon to the defender who's placed this item. Again, this could be something similar to like Jackal, where obviously you scan footprints and you get like a little icon next to your screen that says, hey, this is who I'm scanning. So I'm thinking that might be what the decoy device is, which means that one of the new defending Italian operators could potentially be some sort of almost Jackal-like character, but instead of having to go and scan footprints, they just leave a device out that activates some sort of hologram and lets you know where this attacker is. Obviously, there is also potential that the hologram itself is just a hologram, and it presents itself as a target for the attackers to shoot at, potentially extending how long it takes them to drone out an area because they think there might be a player, or it might just give away their positions because they have to shoot a hologram, all that kind of interesting stuff. Now obviously this data thread alone would kind of make a lot of people think, well, maybe that's a sort of thing going on, we don't actually know. But another leak that came out as well, again I'll leave a link to in the description, was one of the names of one of the Italian operators. Now my pronunciation of this will be horrendous, don't get me wrong, I know that, but it was Bisaglio, or Bisaglio, again I can't say it. It's an Italian name, and when you put it in Google Translate, it actually means target. Now, a lot of people, again, speculating this with the previously gained information, kind of think that what it means is in fact, the new operator is called Target. He puts out these holograms, so potentially he either makes the enemy a target by locating them, or he puts up a hologram that is a target for the attackers to shoot and have to deal with. So we're not 100% sure either way where that might be going, but you kind of, when you put them together, it kind of makes sense. It kind of has a little bit of cohesion there, and it makes you think, hey, actually this could be potentially an interesting operator. And if it is, I mean, that's awesome. Obviously, that we've got one of the two gadgets already, so it's this sort of this decoy projectile kind of like hologram thing, which would be really interesting depending on how it's utilized. Again, there's so many different ways it could be implemented, so we're not quite sure. Personally, I think it might be something like Jackal, where again it's just a device that identifies whoever activates it and where they are, so they present themselves as a target to the defenders. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think to it in the comments below, if you believe it or not. And then the second operator gadget that has been sort of presented is like a bulletproof camera. Now this one is a little bit more difficult to sort of personally notice in the files, but he seems pretty certain that the new object is a bulletproof camera. And again, we're not quite sure here whether or not this means that the operator is gonna have one bulletproof camera that they can put out so that they can leave it there and the attackers can't destroy it, or if it's some sort of thing where they can reinforce cameras on the map that are already there to make them bulletproof with this ability, or whether or not it's something like Valkyrie, but again, you'll have fewer cameras but they'll be bulletproof. We don't really know what it is, but the bulletproof camera seems to be the current idea for the new gadget, which again is really interesting. Personally, I'd kind of like if it was an ability that made the maps cameras that were already there bulletproof and you could choose which ones it happened with, because that to me would be a little bit more interesting. It would mean the attackers would have to consider things a little bit more. It would also mean that if they could choose the cameras without having to actually access them, the defenders could maybe say like, hey, I want this outside camera to be bulletproof, and then you get a little bit more external information, which is one of the things that I think the defenders lack quite quickly in Siege. In Siege now, external cameras are pretty much pointless, because as soon as the game starts, they're gone. Like, any good attacking team just takes those cameras out, and that's it. External information is pretty much just completely gone for the defenders, unless they get a Valkyrie to throw out a camera right at the start of the round. But again, those cameras kind of get taken out quite quickly, because people expect that, they watch for it. So I think a bulletproof camera would be an interesting addition to the game. Like I said, I think if it was more on the static cameras, that would be better. But again, that's just my opinion. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think to a bulletproof camera? How do you think they might implement it if they do? And obviously, what do you think to it? Now again, obviously I just want to point out, all of this information is speculation, but as I said, Artex3, the guy who leaked the gadgets themselves, he's a fairly resourceful member of the community. His previous leaks about Operation Chimera have been proven to be correct. He does this kind of stuff on the regular where he thumbs through all the different strings found in the client, and normally the sort of things he gives us are fairly reliable and good information. So I'm fairly confident these are gadgets that either, you know, we're gonna see, or that Ubisoft had planned to put in the game and maybe just decided, hey, you know, we're not going to do it now. But at some point these were gadgets, and potentially, like I said, especially when you consider the name of the Italian operator, they're probably going to be the gadgets that come, and I think it's interesting to see that that's what they're going with. So like I said, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Obviously, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit that like button. If you didn't, the dislike button is just there. Subscribe for more Rainbow Six Siege content coming soon, and I'll see you in the next one.